I'm buying a single family property that needs work at a discounted price, right? I'm converting it to its highest and best use, and now it's going to be evaluated off of the income.
Hey guys, today we have another awesome episode of The BRRRR Show. I'm your co-host, Chad Gallagher, joined with Joel Kraut of BRRRR Loans. Buy, rehab, rent, refi, repeat. Meet the inspiring people using BRRRR to create wealth and their tactics so you can too. Let's do it. Dan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How's things going, Chad?
Going great. Going great.
What's up, Joel? How you doing?
Hello. So, do you two know each other already?
No, I don't think so.
Chad, what are you hiding out there in the Amish country? What's going on there?
You know, man, you know a whole group of people that I didn't even know existed. I know a lot of people, but you got all sorts of characters, and something tells me we got another one coming up here. So, Dan, why don't you, this is our first time kind of talking, and, we'll head this out to a relatively wide audience who probably never met you before. Maybe give us the background. What's your story? What do you work on? How do you operate? What do you do?
So, story like as far as the real estate I'm doing, or how I got involved in real estate in general?
Yeah, let's start with how you got involved in real estate and then what you actually do.
Sure. Yeah. So, I was an accidental investor, is what I call it. Like I really had no intentions of investing in real estate. I used to work for SEPTA. I worked on the regional rail side of SEPTA. I was a union electrician, and I was very, very fortunate. I went to Dobbins, which is a Voltech school. And I got a job at SEPTA while I was in high school. When I graduated, I got a full-time job. I was hired there. And so I started out, 17, and I was, I had a, union job. I was making really good money. And then I started a promotional business, which we took from, I used to start off doing small parties, moved up to doing nightclubs, and then I moved into doing like medium stadium size events. So stadiums that fit like 10,000 seaters. We would bring in artists, and we would sell tickets. And if you've ever heard of N1, like the basketball, stuff like that. So we were doing me and my partners, we were doing N1 style basketball games like right when they started, maybe a little like before them. We actually met up early on, but what we did was we got the best, what they call street players from Philly and from New York, and we would rent out we would go to college campuses and rent their stadiums, and we would have them play, and we would bring in artists and stuff like that. So we had a similar style business. And actually, I thought that's how I was going to become rich. I thought that's how I was going to become wealthy. That didn't happen, but my mom, she is a real estate agent, but she's my mom. And I was young. I was early 20s, and I was making money. And she didn't want me to do what a lot of young guys do. Waste of money on stuff, women, and whatever, right? And so she was like, "Why don't you buy real estate?" I was like, not really that interested. I'm like, this is mom. I'll make mom happy. I'll go out there and I'll look at some stuff, but I'm not going to actually buy anything. And as I was looking at properties, I was like, I started to kind of learn about real estate. I was like, oh, this wouldn't be a bad third income stream. I had my job, I had the business, and now I would have real estate. So that's what really got me started. Like in that, by me looking at, I actually ended up buying a bank-owned duplex. So that was like my first investment property.
And this was 2008, you said?
No, this was 2000. I want to say 2004 or 5.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you buy a duplex from the bank, in like a decent part of the city, or
Nope. I bought it in the hood. I'm from Southwest Philly. This was in West Philly, off the street called Hunter Street, which is, for anybody that knows Philly, like the main street. It was off of 59th and Lancaster. It was like the main street. Yeah, it was and I had zero. When I say zero strategy, zero whatever, it was just I had cash. The place cost 20,000. I had like 25 grand saved up. I was like, well, this works. So I just bought it. And so I had no strategy for the rehab. I had no strategy for being a landlord. So when I tell people, like, I learned this business the hardest way possible, which ultimately gives me a lot of, skill sets, and it allows me to help people, because I try to teach them you don't have to learn it the hardest way, like I did. But also, there wasn't people doing podcasts, and there wasn't access to a Joel, and there wasn't there was a whole bunch of things that we have now that I didn't have then. So
okay, so you buy the duplex. Do you fix it up yourself?
Yeah. So again, just keep in mind, I had zero. When I'm talking about zero strategy, zero understanding of real estate and how to do rehab, but I'm a go-getter. So at the time, I was still working at SEPTA, and I was single, so I didn't have to worry about the wife, kids, none of that, right? So I was what I call at the time, I was the overtime king. If overtime got to me, it was not getting by me. So I worked a ton of overtime, and I was doing the business. So what I did, because I spent most of my money to buy the property, I would go in there. I hired jackleg guys, and I would go in there and I would do the work. And I would save up money, and I would fix it up a little bit. Then I would run out of money, and I'd save up some more money, and then I would fix it up. So that process took me about a year and a half, and I finally got it fixed up. And I put some tenants in there, and I absolutely hated the experience of being a landlord, to be clear. And what I tell people, what I understand now, like looking, now that I can look back at it, is that being a landlord is a skill set. There's a skill set that I didn't have then. So, I didn't really know how to manage tenants. I didn't have any sort of infrastructure for it. And so I ended up getting those tenants out. I remember I put the property up on the market on a Monday. I put it up for like 87.5 or something. That Friday had 2 full price offers. And so I sold it. I went to closing, and I didn't have any mortgage on it or anything. And so I go to close on this thing, and this is when I was still getting checks. I get this check, and I'm like, damn, right? I got this check. That was more than I made all year working, right? It's my first time seeing a check like that, right? So it certainly began the wheel spinning about the possibilities of real estate, even though I didn't really have the proper training. I didn't really understand the strategies, but from the little that I knew, or just going through the process, I'll say that I made this money. So I'm like, damn, there's actually something here, right? So that really that was enough of a spark to keep me going.
That's incredible. So then from there, did you just rinse and repeat, or what?
No, not even close. It's funny. I just kept stumbling my way through this thing. So actually, again, like I said, I was raised in Southwest. I actually bought my parents' home. So, and I still own it to this day, but I bought my parents' home. I was living there. I bought that place, fixing it up. So I wanted to get out of the house. It's not a great neighborhood. It's getting a little bit better now, but it was really bad then. It's like, well, let me get out of here. I wanted to move out to the county. So just happenstance, my mom went to go show this property that was listed as a single family, but it actually was a triplex, and it was in East Lansdowne, which is in Delaware County, which is right outside. So she's like, hey, it's this property. It's listed as a single family, but it's actually a triplex. So it's probably not getting that much traction with people looking for multifamily. So I went to go look at the property. It was it was a 4-story property because the basement was actually above grade. If you ever seen one of those, it's like above grade and it had 3 stories above it. And it was a bi-level apartment on the top floor, which was a 3-bedroom and 1 bath. It was a first floor unit that was large, that was 1 bedroom, 1 bath, but it was like humongous. And then there was a unit underneath. And so I ended up getting that property for $76,500. And I moved into there. I did a little sweat equity work. I moved in there. I lived there for like about a year or 2. I met my wife and I moved out. And the tenant that moved in after me, they ended up purchasing that property from me for $180,000.
Wow.
And again, I'm like, damn, I'm making money and I don't know what I'm doing. If I start reading some books, I might be dangerous. And so that's when I decided to just become a little more serious about it. And so I started doing some flips. And then when I turned 30, because during this whole process, I was still working at SEPTA. So I was still doing the SEPTA thing. So I said, well, okay. I said, by the time I'm 35, I'm going to quit SEPTA, right? And so I worked that plan and I quit SEPTA 3 days before my 35th birthday, which was Christmas Day of 2014. So it's going to I'm coming up on my 10th year, actually. It's just being a full time. That's it. Thank you.
You're not going back to SEPTA? You don't miss it?
No. So one of the interesting things, I don't miss the job. What I did miss, and I didn't realize it, is being a business owner, especially in this space, can be kind of lonely, right? I didn't when I started out, I didn't have an office. I didn't have people working for me. It was just me, and so you miss, and then like the railroad is a whole bunch of guys, so you're BSing all the time, joking with guys, and doing all sorts of stuff like that. So that's what I really miss the most. It took me 2-3 months to get used to not getting a paycheck. After that, I never thought about a paycheck again. But yeah, it took about 2-3 months, because you got paid every week, and I kind of had to get that out of my system almost. It was kind of weird. But once I got comfortable with the idea that I wasn't getting paid every single week, then like I was fine. But the guy that ran the shop that I was at, because like I said, I was there 18 years. So all of the guys who were like higher up management was guys that I started with. I had great relationships with all these guys. And so like when I left out, he was like, listen, I don't know if you're going to want to, but I guess they have some authority to put something into your package or whatever. So like, hey, if you ever want to come back, you don't have to go through the whole interview process. Like you can just come on back. Like, well, thank you. I appreciate it, but I don't think that's happening.
First, a word about our sponsors.
Hey guys, this is Chad Gallagher, your co-host here, and when you are in market for your next loan, highly recommend BRRRR loans. I actually used them on one of my latest loans. It was actually an interest-only product, which I really love because if interest rates go down in the future, you can refinance the product. This is a great team. Joel and guys really know their stuff. They understand investing and have some awesome products for investors of all types. Check them out. BRRRR loans.
That's awesome. So, all right, let's fast forward now. So Joel said that you don't so much work on like, you say you kind of work on like small to mid-sized multi-family type properties. We call this the BRRRR podcast. Do you BRRRR these properties, or what's kind of your strategy and both how do you acquire them? How do you find out about them? Do you give us an example maybe?
So I started off in the residential space and I was doing the whole BRRRR thing before it had a name. And then I stumbled into commercial real estate. Like I stumbled into a lot of things. I act like a lot of this was like just great strategy. Some of it is just I feel like I have a good sense of things that kind of make sense. So around 2014, I was able to pick up a vacant 6-unit building in Sharon Hill. And I didn't know anything about commercial real estate. I just like, well, I had 6 units. This is better than me buying 2 or 3, right? Just kind of made sense. And I bought it. I'm not just trying to keep it short. I bought it for like 80 grand, fixed it up.
Wow.
And I don't know.
Was it like falling down, or was it a?
This was right at the tail end, and it might have been might have been earlier in 2000. It might have been 2013, 14. I have to check the HUD on that one, but it was when we were coming out of all of everything from 2010, right? So it still wasn't like there was still it was bank owned, so banks were still trying to get rid of bank owned properties, right? So it wasn't falling down. It was just vacant, and I had to do all new wiring and plumbing and stuff like that. But it wasn't a full gut by like any means. And it was a nice building. I sold it a while back, but it was nice.
And Dan, are you doing this work yourself? Like, are you the contractor on these things? You're actually like.
So I'm not physically working at this juncture, right? By the time I got to the 6-unit building, I'm not physically doing the work. I'm the GC. I'm hiring all the subs, but no, I'm not physically doing the work at this point. But yeah, so picked it up, fixed it up, got it rented out. And what I learned, again, I didn't realize that a commercial property is evaluated on a totally different principle as your 1 to 4 units, right? And I was like, oh, this is based off the income. Like, I got the appraisal, and I was like, oh wow. So that just kind of opened my eyes to how you can create value with buying a commercial real estate. So I did that for the next couple of years. I would buy vacant, 5, 6-unit buildings, right? And that was working fine when we had a glut of bank-owned properties. But that whole ride ended, and so I had to figure out, well, okay, where can I find these opportunities, so I can keep doing it. And so what that transitioned into is a strategy that I call the multifamily conversion strategy. So what that looks like is, in Philadelphia, I buy properties that have advantageous zoning, which means that I can convert them into multifamily properties by right? Which means I don't have to go through the variance process. I don't have to ask the neighbors. I don't have to go in front of the zoning board. It's what the zoning allows for me to do by right. So I would buy buildings that had advantageous zoning, and I would convert them into a commercial multifamily property. That gave me even greater returns, because what happened was, if you can think about it like this, I'm buying, say for instance, like a deal I did recently, I'm buying a single family property from someone. So best case in their mind, they're selling to me as a single family property, right? And it was in rough shape, so it needed work. But in my mind, I know that because of the zoning, I'm able to convert it into a 5-unit building, which I did. So I'm buying a single family property that needs work at a discounted price, right? I'm converting it to its highest and best use, and now it's going to be evaluated off of the income. So when those are the projects that I've been doing for the last probably 3-4 years, up until the market really shifted, but they were absolutely like phenomenal.
So who introduced you to that concept? Because I hate to use this term, but like the average person, even in the real estate world, doesn't really think like that, right? They're not seeing that vision, especially a single family being converted to something greater than a 4, right? That's a big stretch.
I was trying to figure out, how can I continue buying commercial real estate if there's not a lot of vacant commercial real estate? Right. And I said, okay, there's all these large buildings here. How did they become? Because a lot of these buildings, you could tell at some point they were cut up. Like, well, what's the process? Like, how does that work? and I started to dig, and that took me through the zoning. Okay, let me look at the zoning. Let me see how this works. And I just kind of, is as boring as it sounds, I just read through the zoning, right? Understood, okay, certain zoning and other certain characteristics that the property has to have, and you're allowed to convert it into a multifamily property. And that works a couple of different ways. It works with me creating the multifamily property, but I've also done it where I bought existing commercial real estate and I've added units because the zoning allows for me to add additional units by right.
So you're buying, I totally get the strategy, but you're buying like a single family home. Are you now adding additional property to this to make it a 5-unit building, or how are you turning it, the single family home, into a 5-unit building or more?
So I'll just walk you through one that I did.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the single family, now this doesn't happen all the time with single family, but I've also bought like small warehouses, churches, and stuff like that too. But with the single family property, what I did was, this is a single family, it was on the corner. It was a really long property to start with. So being on the corner was certainly that was crucial for what I'm about to explain next. And it had an attached garage as well. So when I'm looking at a property, I'm looking for all the ways that I can efficiently utilize the space. So I turned the garage into a unit. So the building on the side was long, and it had a little, just like landing that you kind of walked up to. And if you can imagine, in the middle of the property had like a bay that went all the way up. Well, where that bay was, that was in the middle of the property, I built stairs going up to there, cut in a door, and that became a hallway that separated the front from the back. So on the first floor, if you just can kind of imagine, and then it was you walk through, if you went through the middle, you could access the back unit. Then there were steps going up to the front, because that was a front door already. All I did was make that the front, that door became the door to the front apartment.
Mm-hmm.
It had a raised foundation. So now this part was just kind of just fortunate, but I mean, I saw it there. It had a raised foundation with steps going down to the basement already from the front. So that became the commercial space, right? It's a mixed use. So that became, and then through that hallway in the middle, you walked up and you got upstairs, and that apartment spanned the whole second floor. So it was one unit on the second floor. It was 2 units on the first floor, a retail space on the bottom floor, and the garage was turned into an apartment as well.
And
First
this
off,
was-
I'm dying to see pictures of this. I hope you.
Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah. If we had time, I would show you guys. It's a beautiful building. It turned out really nice.
But then I guess is the tricky part probably adding like a bathroom and kitchen to some of these units?
No, it's a gut rehab. So it's brand new plumbing run everywhere. So not any trickier than any other rehab, I guess, in my mind, because I've done it before. But yeah, it's just if you did a full gut rehab and you moved the bathroom somewhere, it's the same thing, except for in this case, obviously, I'm putting in 5 bathrooms and 5 kitchens and all that sort of stuff. And and that's where your architects and your mechanical engineers, that's their work. I'm just there to tell them where it all goes, but they size it up and everything else.
So you're sticking really to as of right, and then CMX
2, CMX 3.
Right, 3s and
What's that? What's the CMX 2?
So,
CMX 3?
in zoning in Philadelphia, they use a couple different acronyms as Dan's describing. CMX2, RM1s, depending on where you are. If you actually take a map out, which the city will give you, you can see where you're allowed to have certain types of properties.
So the reason why, so in that same building that they were talking about, I was able to pick that building up. And this is interesting. I bought that building from another experienced investor. They've done a lot of deals, like you would probably know their name. But they didn't understand zoning. So they couldn't figure out what to do with the property. So they just wanted it off their books. So I had to look. I think I bought that building for like 80,000, 83,000. I think I put 300,000 into it and appraised for $680,000. So it's a monster. And I was doing those, and I stuck with those because I could create so much equity. I'm just like, it doesn't make sense for me, number one, to do these smaller deals and, eke out a BRRRR, and things are tight, where I could do this and I could create massive refinance opportunities.
Yeah.
Which some people agree with, some people don't. But for me and my business, I'm like, I'd rather take the $100,000 now than wait 20 years in rent to try to eke that out. Some people are different. But so yeah, I mean, those opportunities, I see more people doing it now. I teach this, so I think that I've exposed a lot of people to those opportunities. A lot of people tend to stick to the duplexes because they're a bit simpler than what I do, but but those opportunities are definitely out there.
Dan, how many units of these have you done? I mean, I was thinking maybe you've done like 10 or 15. It makes me sound like, I feel like you've done a bunch.
Yeah, I've done a lot. And to be clear, the 44 unit I didn't build. I took a large lot and I took it through the approval process, and I got the lot approved for 44 units. But I sold it as a shovel-ready project for somebody else to build off. But yeah, I mean, using this process in the last couple of years, over 50, 60 units I've built doing this, doing just this part of the process, because you're able to do 5, 6 units at the same time. And I'd be doing 3, 4 projects simultaneously when things are really rocking and rolling. Not now. Again, my strategy has changed, if you want to get into that, since rates have gone up a lot, because that affects the process a lot.
Well, we hear and talk about commercial in the background a lot. How do you feel about the market now?
Like most other people, I've slowed down. I still have projects that I haven't even built out yet because it's hard to make the numbers work, right? But what I found is, so I'm no longer looking at building, like doing the multifamily conversion model. Right. What I found now is that there are investors who are in financial trouble who need to get out of deals. And so the deals that I've been buying are investors that are distressed, who need to sell quickly, and I can buy their properties quickly. And so now I'm doing more of a value add strategy than building it out. I'm still doing the BRRRR process. I'm still buying them at the number where I can refinance cash out. I'm doing one next week, which was another 5-unit building, but it was a buyer that needed to get out. And this was interesting. I had it under contract February, March, or something like that. $250,000 was an out-of-state buyer. The guy was a slumlord. People living there wasn't paid. It was horrible. Put in a contract, and I was going to, and this is when rates were sub 5s. We got on a contract, we were going to close. He had some title issues. So got out of contract, he had to do a quiet title. So by the time he came back to me, he was like, hey, I fixed the title issues, I'm ready to close. Okay, great. We're in a whole different market now. I can't offer you the 250. What are you thinking? I'm like 175. No, I can't do 175. I said, well, listen, most people are not even buying right now, or have the cash to buy. I can close, but the rates are too high right now on the back end. So I can't invest as much because the only thing that's going up are the rates. And so that's going to lower the amount that I'm able to cash out on the back end, right, to make this deal work. So anyway, we go back and forth. I ended up getting that same building, actually better condition, because he had a whole bunch of crap in there he took out on his own, which I was going to pay for. So I was like, well, that's better. I got it. I bought the building for $200,000 in January of this year. It's a $50,000 discount because the rates went up. I'm looking at where are the opportunities, right? There's obviously there are issues, but where are the opportunities? And I think those are the opportunities. If you can find investors who need to get out of deals, I'm sure you hear it all the time, Joe. There are investors stuck in deals right now that they can't make work.
So Dan, I heard you have a course. I love your strategies. I mean, I know it's based in Philly, but I think these things work in other cities too. If folks want to hear more about your course or you, what's the best way to kind of reach out to you or get more info on what you have going on?
So I'm most active on Instagram. It's Dan, the Real Estate Man 1 on Instagram. I lost the password to Dan, the Real Estate Man. So Dan, the Real Estate Man 1. I'm always posting videos, and there's links to all of my courses, events, everything else. On Facebook, it's Dan, the Real Estate Man, and then there's the website, which is Dan, the Real Estate Man also. And I have a course that walks people through the multifamily conversion strategy, all from analyzing the deals, how to find the deals, how to understand the zoning, how to finance the deals, how to rehab the deals from start to finish, and then long-term financing on the back end. So it's really a hand-holding through the whole process. I literally dump my whole brain. Definitely one of the kind of proudest things that I've done, just really dump my whole brain into the process. So if anybody's interested in it, the process is there.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, you got a crazy brain. The fact that you learn most of this stuff on your own is pretty intense and pretty amazing. And yeah, really cool hearing how you convert stuff. I actually haven't talked to anyone who does conversions like this before. Joel, the BRRRR loan master, finds these people out of I don't know where he finds them from, but he finds these people in his Rolodex. His Rolodex is bigger than mine. He's been doing this for a little bit longer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Joel's been in the game. Yeah, I think Joel, you and I first met was that at the Nick Tang event?
I think so, probably.
Yeah, I think the first time you and I spoke there.
I think I started with Nick when he had 8 people.
Yeah.
Me, like the Home Depot guy, Nick, and like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Cool, Dan. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining our podcast, and we'll probably email you with a few questions and maybe some pictures we can get. And yeah, I know our folks are gonna really love this, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really do.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Real Estate Hackers Show. If you've not yet become a member of Real Estate Hackers, you can do that for free at realestatehackers.com. Get access to all of the amazing real estate hacker deals from incredible vendors, on a ton of content and materials for you, the investor. You can follow Real Estate Hackers on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. If you can give us a 5-star review for the podcast, I would personally really appreciate it. We read every review, and thank you so much for helping us grow this community for you, the real estate investor.